How do you do this? Coming to you live from two words or one word?
Good evening, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started in just a minute. Does everybody get a seat? Does everybody have something to drink? Everybody place their orders? We have a pretty full agenda tonight and a lot of exciting things to talk about. If we deviate from the agenda that I put on the table, it's only because of time. So welcome, everybody. Anybody who's never been to one of our meetings before? Do you mind standing up and introducing yourself?
Jeff Swanson and married to Donna the Democrat.
Great. Welcome. It's good to see you. Also here this evening, and I don't know if Tristan, you've never come to a Dpoc meeting. Over the course of the past few months, we've had some help from a young man here in town that has been pretty incredible. Not only did he come volunteer and start working with us, but he became an intern in Las Cruces with Liz. You know how Liz is, roped him into interning. So Tristan has actually been doing walks, doing phone calls, leading phone banks, leading walks. This is Tristan Lenzo. For those of you who see his name, we're so glad you're here. It looks like there are a few more people coming, but the whole restaurant is open, so if we need room, we can certainly have people on the other side also. My name is Nadia Sykes. I'm chair of the Democratic Party here in Ontario County. I'm really pleased and privileged to be able to stand up here in front of all of you. We've got, like I said, a very full agenda. What I'd like to do is start out the way we usually do with a Pledge of Allegiance, if you don't mind standing. AJ, do you mind leading the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
Thank you, folks. Usually at this time we honor a vet. We're going to postpone that for just a little while because we've got some guests here who are going to be talking about something that came up a few months ago. Pretty interesting, and I think beneficial. I've got two people here who I know, you probably know Commissioner Harrell, and Chris Orwell is also here. We're going to be talking about the quality of life GRT. I know there are a lot of questions. We've got some brochures that will answer some of the questions, but we're going to give them some time to talk, and they've agreed to open it up for questions afterwards. So if I may, welcome Mr. Harold. I'm so glad you came. If you want to just go ahead and have a seat, what we'll do, we'll start with Chris, and then we can wrap it up. But our first speaker is Mr. Chris Orwell. Chris is the new 2.5-month director of the New Mexico Museum of Space History here in Alamogordo. He's also a 24-year Navy retiree, and prior to moving here was in Kansas with the Kansas Cosmosphere and Space Museum. A lot of experience in that type of thing, but one of the things that Chris decided early on when this GRT was proposed was he had gone through this similar process where he was before moving here. So he's been instrumental in getting the word out. So without further ado, Mr. Orwell.
Well, thank you so much. I'm actually a relative newcomer, no surprise, to the county here, and just as of today, we put the offer in the House and it's being accepted. So I will finally be able to call myself a true resident of Otero County, and loving it here, having come down from Kansas. That being said, I'm not here to talk about myself or the museum or that, but really to talk about an option and an opportunity that's coming up on the ballot. So I noticed that Nadia and Bullseye also brought a number of these brochures, and they'll be available to you afterwards that go into more detail. I don't want to take up a bunch of your time, and I want to leave some time, obviously, for Commissioner Harold. But the bottom line is, on the ballot, there's going to be a proposed quality of life gross receipts tax proposal that basically says that the county commissioners of Otero County, they have the option, and this was put out by the legislature in the past here in New Mexico, that the counties have the option to put in front of the residents of that county and the citizens of that county the option to vote for a tax of from very low all the way up to 1/4%, not a quarter cent, but 1/4% of $1 essentially, to add to the sales tax, or excuse me, the gross receipts tax for the county that can be then used for quality of life initiatives. Well, what is quality of life initiative? That's the first thing. Is who's this going to benefit? The bottom line is it benefits everybody in the community, hopefully everybody in the county, and it allows the county to utilize those funds with a very limited amount of donation, essentially per person, on this tax input, to go out and support those areas that are, frankly, very difficult to support. Museums, zoos, the arts in the area, those entities, it's difficult for them to be self-sustaining. I can tell you that as a museum director for the last 6 years of my life coming out of the Navy. It's difficult to sustain one of those institutions. And you have to fund it from a whole bunch of different areas, whether it's government, whether it's private donations, foundational support, whether it's grants, whether it is tickets through the door, programs that you run, and things like that. But you always need some level of community support. That also shows those donors that the community supports that entity, whether it happens to be a theater or a museum or whatever else, that the community is putting in their fair share into that entity as well. It allows you to keep down the admission prices, etc. So the Otero County Commission voted on it, decided to put it on the ballot, and it is on the ballot for this November to add that 1/4% sales tax. The cost to the individuals, when you it's difficult to figure out the cost to individuals or households when you take a look at this number. But when you factor out the cost of people from outside the county coming in and spending their dollars, with the construction costs, and I think you have more detail on this. I'll pretty much leave that to Tommy to go through. When you break it down and get down to the brass tacks of how much it is per household, it's a very low number. So, and I'll kind of leave that to you to let everybody know what that number is. But it's an incredibly small amount when you consider the normal spending that a family or a household does, within the community. And the key thing is the benefits to everybody in areas that currently don't have funding available to them for events, for these institutions to be able to go into their communities and do these activities. There would now be the opportunity for that to happen within the county. And the county commissioners, when they take a look at the budgets and what they've got to deal with, this gives them yet another option of what to be able to put out in front of or to be able to fund those initiatives in the community. With that being said, I think I'll turn it over to Tommy and then let him speak for a moment, and then we'll be open up for questions afterwards. But I just kind of want to give you the perspective from person who's running a museum. So it's a little bit different here. I just came from a private museum where we funded everything ourselves, and that's not easy. I can tell you that. So, and when the quarter-cent sales tax, it wasn't a gross receipt tax, but in Kansas, went before the folks up there, we had to talk about it quite a bit because that was providing support to the museum, but then also to the two museums, and then also for some roads and things like that. It's different here, but it's very similar in what it does support, what it allowed us to do. It allowed us to increase our programs, that we were able to outreach to the schools in the area and to the rest of the folks in that state and that county, and to reduce our admission prices in that situation. Here, the uses are many. The people who can use it and the entities that can use it are quite varied. But the bottom line is it allows all those nonprofit institutions, those nonprofit theaters and everything else to go out and create these activities in their local communities. So.
Follow up on Chris's remarks and so forth. It's my pleasure to be here at the Democratic meeting tonight. My first opportunity to be in a Democratic household. Anyway, with that, you always open up something and open up the framework a little joke or something. Really, this tax initiative, and it was kind of my idea when we actually brought this to the attention of the commission. When this actually happened, and I was looking for revenue sources for the county to actually come up with some funding, it was actually through, y'all remember earlier this summer, we had a windstorm that blew about a third of the Frontier Village off of the fairgrounds. And so we were looking at possibly some funding, or at least I was, to possibly how we could put a new roof or do some improvements out at the fairgrounds. So when the fair board called me and I went out and visited with them and so forth, and they kept talking about Dpoc. Well, as residents of Alamogordo and Otero County, y'all kind of know what Dpoc have a tendency to do in Otero, especially in Alamogordo. They have a tendency to be approved for school issues and so forth, but other than that, they don't go too far. So I've got to looking at the revenue sources and that are provided by the state statutes and what counties can do through GRC tax. And so I come across this one, it's quality of life tax, and it was actually voted on in the 2008 legislature, and that's when they proposed, and it went out to the legislature passed that issue. And it's up to the counties and the municipalities in every community in New Mexico, in every county in New Mexico, to implement if they want to do this. But the catch in the deal, and it's a good catch, is that it has to go before the public and the public commission and be voted on by the people. So when I got back and started looking at this, and it's kind of a coincidence because we looked at it, and I said, well, if we do this, it can only be put on the ballot in the voting in the general election. And so this kind of rushed it. This was in late July, early August when I saw this. And I said, well, if we're going to do it, we're going to have to do it in kind of a hurry to get it on the November ballot, because I didn't really want to, wait 2 years out, and we're talking about the year 2014 and 2012. And so there's a lot of entities out there that can use this funding. In my opinion, it's not a blue issue, it's not a red issue. It's an issue for Otero County. And so when you break this down and what the cost is, and that's the biggest thing that most people have a concern with. But I brought some information, and we went through this. We currently have a 0.25% gross receipts tax that's collected for the volunteer fire departments and county sponsors throughout the year. And that 0.25% right now generates a little over $1 million a year. And you as county residents are paying that gross receipts tax. And so the way the bill was written, it's a little ambiguous when we first read it, and we looked at it, and we said, well, this is not quite fair, because the way the statute's written is that the tax is placed on the initiative, and all voters in Otero County, including the residents of Alamogordo, Blackrock, and Tularosa, will be eligible to vote on this. But the tax is only implemented on businesses or establishments where they actually collect the gross receipts taxes, the county tax, outside the county. So that's a little sweating, but that's the way the legislature wrote the bill. I think they need to go back and address it, because it's basically saying the citizens of Alamogordo, Tulos, and Foxcroft can impose a tax on all the citizens of Alamogordo. And basically it's on those businesses outside. To give you a little information in what is actually coming out and what it's going to cost per household or per individual for the county residents. I have in my hand, this is a list of 1,159 businesses that have a GRP license in Othello County. That includes the city of Alamogordo, Foxcroft, and the businesses outside of the municipalities. That's one thing. The other thing that we've looked at, and what we looked at when I looked at this, and Chris related to it as far as what is it going to cost the individual. When you really look at what monies are collected, and let me just read these off. The way the county breaks this down, there's actually 22 different agencies or entities that they classify at the state level that the funds go into, and then the money's collected by the state. Then they keep their 3% administration costs and it's passed back to the county municipalities. But for instance, in Otero County, the utilities in Otero County pay 4.91% of the gross receipts tax. The construction industry pays 26.61%. The retail trade, which is your retail trade stores as far as Walmart and all these, pay 18.77%. This is where most of the people will actually be spending most of their dollars that they spend is for general income is at the retail level. Information and cultural industries pays 5.57%. Professional, scientific, and technical pays 9.47%. Accommodation and food services pay 4.39%. Other services except for public administration, they kind of loop this together, is 12.85%. And then all other industries in Otero County, this includes farming, agriculture, and so forth, is 17.43%. So unless you fall into one of those categories, where most of us in the retail market is what is into that, when you actually take, let's just round that off at retail sales, our total collection last year was right at $4 million for the county-wide gross receipts tax. If you take 20% of that, which would be somewhere in the neighborhood of $200,000. If you divide that over 63,000 people that live in the county, or 36,000 households, when you divide that number of 200,000 by that number, that's where we come up with the idea that we talk about the cost of the six-factor coach. Actually, that's what it's going to cost each individual household. So here again, most of the money that's collected in the gross receipts tax, and most people don't understand this, even in the city, is most of it's constructed under the construction industry department. That's where the biggest bulk of the dollars that are collected in GRT taxes that are collected and paid to the state and what we receive back. Right now, the current rate in the county tax rate in Otero County is 5.8125%. If we increase this by 0.25%, it goes to 6.06125%. So, in other words, right now inside the city, the tax rate is 7.75%, something like that, 7.87, 7.75. So the city actually collects almost 1.75% more tax inside the city. In the same way in Foxcroft and Tulos, I think they're a little bit different, but they're close to those same figures, other than Otero County. Otero County, 5.125% of that goes directly to the state. Our actual revenue here in Otero County is gross receipts tax, including all that we have, is actually less than 1%. So, you know, when you look at the revenue dollars that are spent out there and what's actually generated, and then go back to what is going to be the benefit of this tax, the beauty part about this tax, we know where it's going to be collected. It will be collected in Otero County, and it will be spent in Otero County. It's not sent off to Santa Fe or Washington or someplace else, and we have no control of where that money's going or anything like that. So the way this tax will be set up, if it's passed by the citizens, is that there will be a board appointed by the county commission of 9 to 15 members, and that board will be made up of individuals such as yourselves that would be interested in serving on that board. And then people will make applications, kind of like a grant process, because people in the government know what grant processes or applications for funding is. And I can see that the benefit to this, and here again, I was the instigator of this. I proposed it to the commission. They looked at it, and we looked at the real source of what it was they would do to Otero County. So it's something that we need to take on to ourselves as an initiative. How good do we want Otero County to be? I mean, it's y'all and it's your community. I've lived here 63 years. I'm a fairly newcomer, according to Cliff. But, you know, I've been here maybe a little while longer than some of the rest of you. And here it is. It's my community also. And like I say, I don't think this is really a blue or red issue. I think it's a community issue that the people need to understand, actually get the information, look at it, where the money is, how it's going to be collected, when it's going to be collected, and then what it's going to be spent on in the future. When you talk about $1 million a year, that's another beauty about this tax. There is a sunset provision on it, closed it for 10 years. So, but that's still a lot of money. $1 million a year, that's $10 million over a 10-year period. And if I come up to you and it'd be almost like saying, you know, if I give you $100,000 to spend, how much better could you do to your life and your way of life? If I give you $100,000 to spend and spend it wisely, and how much benefit would that provide to you or any individual? So there's a lot of things that can be said about it. There's going to be a lot of people against it. We're going to propose it to the citizens. It's going to be your decision. I would urge you to get out and vote. I think it's a big turnout for the election, but it will be on the ballot. It's on the back of the ballot. I'm sorry, we do not have the sample ballot in yet. They just went to in last Friday, and not in yet. I was going to bring some when you ought to be the first one to actually see them. But anyway, with that information, I've tried to make this fairly simple. I mean, it's kind of hard to explain in some ways, but yet on the other hand, I hope to be able to answer some questions. I already have some questions for you. So with that, I think we'll pass out some brochures. We actually went to the Legislative Council Service for the state of New Mexico and had their attorney to give us an opinion on the actual tax. And these are some of the opinions that come down from their legal department on what the tax is like to be collected, who's eligible to vote, and the process. So be sure and read this brochure. We put it together with their information, and it's factually. We know we wanted the information to be this way. We put it out from the county. We actually put the information out there, and then there's an advocacy group that actually picked this up and is actually promoting it. So I think Cliff's involved and Barbara both are involved in this group. But anyway, I'd be glad to answer any questions or none. Do you have any questions for me?
Tommy, this is not a question, but it is a statement. I heartily recommend this tax because it is for quality of life, and I lived here before we had much quality of life. And believe me, it's a whole lot better now than it was. So I would solicit your vote for this GRT tax, please.
Sure, I know I didn't do that good a job explaining this, so, you know, anyway, yes, sir.
You were trying to give some general idea of how much it would cost per household, and you said, well, it was like a 6-pack of Coke, but you didn't say whether that was per day or per year. Or
Per year.
Depends on how heavy a drinker you are. You know, some of us, a 6-pack doesn't go very far.
No, that's right.
We're actually proposing this. That's about the cost we think it'd be a year. In other words, if you take $200,000 and divide it by 37,000 people, you know, that's less than $3, you know, per year per household. And so, I mean, that's on the retail side. There is going to be implications. In other words, if you went out and bought a new house from, say, some contractor, and there is a GRT tax, and he builds it in the county for you on a piece of property in the county, he has to collect that tax. So the GRT on that one-time purchase of a new home will be considerably more. But you don't normally make those expendable purchases every day or every year. So, there's another way to look at it. The average income in the Otero County is about $37,000 a year, the household income. And by the time you take out rent, cost of food, cost of house payments, insurance, and so forth, the items that are not taxable, that actually, we figure the disposable income somewhere in the neighborhood of $6,000 a year, disposable income per household in Otero County. So then, when you get down to that, how many of you are actually going to be doing business with a business outside of Elmwood or on the side country? I mean, I'm talking about Chaparral, I'm talking about Mayville, I'm talking about Weed, it's weird that part of the desert or something like this, and so when you actually take those figures and start shrinking them down to what you actually spend with participating businesses outside that area. Because here again, Chris hits the nail on the head. The construction and the tourism industry are the people that support most of those businesses outside of town. But you'd be surprised that be willing to pass this list around and go through it and list. I mean, it's amazing how many companies that have GRP licensure, New Mexico Grocery Sales Tax numbers from outside the area, especially all over from New Jersey. I was going through the list from New Jersey to California to you name there's different entities that pay grocery receipts tax to Illinois because they do provide a service and provide that service to the citizens of the county. So consequently, they do pay tax back into the county and to the state of New Mexico. And then it's by the counties and the municipalities. So, but anyway, that's a good question. But that's, you can take any math figure and depending on how you want to figure it. If you're paying me, I'd say, oh, it's not much. If I'm paying you, oh, that's too much. So.
Well, I attended the public hearing on the quality of life that the county did,
yes,
and somebody made the point, tourists that stop in at, for instance, the Giant Pistachio, there's a certain joy that I get out of knowing Texans passing through here can be paying part of his tax. And that they sound kind of taxi bad. But as a former Texan, a recovering Texan, I kind of like it.
Well, believe me, when you make a trip to El Paso or any place in Texas, they're collecting that same tax. That's the biggest tax they have in Texas is sales tax. So you're the reciprocal agreement that you have, but you don't really agree to go. Yes.
This may be beyond the scope of what you all have talked about, but it appears just at first glance that this initial board is going to have a great deal of control over how these funds are used. So I'm interested to know if you all have talked about what criteria you will consider in appointing that first board, because it also appears that as is with many boards, it would have somewhat self-perpetuating.
Well, and that's a good question because in this board, but when, in some ways, instances, it's good because it's kind of outside the realm of the elected officials that the process will go through. So when it's all said and done, the county commission will have the final say-so on how those funds are to be spent and be received. So, I can sit here and tell you that's a good thing, but on the other hand, there is kind of a safety measure there. This is fairly new in New Mexico. There's only been one other community in the state that has passed this initiative so far, and that's the small community of Cuba, New Mexico, in northern New Mexico, Sandoval County. They're the only community and only county in the state that has passed this. So it's fairly new out there. There's not a repertoire of what has been written or that we can go back and take a template from. So it's going to be kind of a new thing. So Otero County, if we pass this, eventually is going to be kind of the leader in the county in the state government as far as looking at us. I've received a couple of calls from the state and saying, we're kind of apprehensive about this too because we don't know. The best advice that we got is from the legal services, legislative legal services, and how the money is to be collected, and who's to be appointed, and so forth, and how it's to go over. But another thing with that board is how broad a brush are they going to paint out there that would be the entities and the individuals, or not individuals, but it won't be individuals, but entities and the groups that would be eligible for funding. I can see that the senior centers, the federal programs of shelter affairs and others that enhance that. The libraries certainly use it. We support a lot of those initiatives down. Right now, we have a social program where we estimate there's about 40 entities that we supply money to or give money to out of the general fund. We feel like there's about 18 of those entities that would actually be eligible under this funding process that would be eligible, that would probably free us some other money in our general fund, because it's, even though most people don't realize that we are funding a lot of those. For instance, the city library here in Alabama, we fund that to the tune of $40,000 a year. That's always been kind of a work between the city and the county. You know, they feel like they spend, close to $1 million a year with the furniture library, and they say, well, the county's not supporting that enough. Well, it's twofold. We look at every citizen in Oak Carroll County, whether you live in Alamogordo or outside of Alamogordo or municipality, you're still a county resident. And so most of that funding does come through them, but we try to support it the best we can. This last year, the TELF money, this is another idea, example of coming in. We have been told explicitly that our TELF money, and most people don't understand what that is, that's property tax taxes in lieu of federal government, all of our federal government controlled properties that they have in Oak Carroll County, which is about 88% of the county property in Oak Carroll County is made up of federal lands of some kind. So that tax base that we have on property tax issues shrinks down considerably. And so, it's very hard to run a county on 12% of the property out there that we're actually able to collect property taxes on and do all the activities and sponsor all the programs. Our first thing is the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of Oak Carroll County. And so the first thing that we do is our sheriff's department is more of our more important issues. Then it's our road department is probably our second. We spend nearly $5 million a year on maintaining the jail services, preparation of facilities, which that was only $1 million a year instead of $5. By the time we get through all those programs and look at our budget and so forth, when we get down to the social issues, these are kind of things that are pushed back to the back, and there's not that funding. It would tickle my heart to death if we have a certain amount of money over there that we do in the general fund. Nobody can touch that. It's just a group that makes application to that funding. And so, I can't take that money and use it to repair your road, or something. It would be actually dedicated to that purpose, and that's where the money would be spent, and hopefully, really doing enhancement of the community as far as overall. Yes, sir.
The group that can apply for this grant would be that means like Working Golf Club or Colt or
Well, and here again, this is going to be something that the citizens of Oak Carroll County are going to have to look at. And without all the brush that we paint out there, these entities will be eligible to apply for these grants. And I'm not going to sit here and say that, for instance, Boys and Girls Club right now would be one, because I'm not on that committee. The business and the resources, and they look at it and say this is a benefit. The Girls and Boys Club, now I can't say I'm going to support their buildings, maybe their utilities, but if they want to do a program for the kids there that's outside the scope of something more culture or something like this, then I can say certainly they could be beneficial if they can apply for those, if that's what the schools can use for. But for their day-to-day operations, I'll be a little hesitant to say that money could be used for that. But if they have these programs, and the money could be used for that, in other words, to enhance their programs and make it offer a bigger benefit to kids they serve. Yes, sir.
It's a very difficult time with this ownership, the idea that you say it's not a red, it's not a blue issue, but yet the commission's red, you're going to flood this committee, people, whether it's 12 or 15, to do quality of life things and make decisions that are going to affect the great people, whether we're red or blue. But at the same time, I guess, I don't hear you talking about chaperone, and you always talk about mosaic trees, or they were left here, they were not. I don't hear you talking about chaperone. part of the county that you tried to get rid of, if I recall correctly. So the quality of life is certainly a lot different down there. And you're saying, yes, we're going to screen all these things for the quality of life for those people who are Hispanic, who are not, you know, sitting around Bulls Acres.
Let me answer it this way. I hope, and I would say this, if all 9 people that's on that board were all Democrats, it would tickle me to death.
But you're trying to provide diversity. You're trying to provide diversity, and there's no mention about the implementation of what this community is going to be like in order to check the diversity of this county. We're not all Anglos, we're not all blacks, we're all Hispanics. We are a number of people all together, and somehow all of our quality of life has to increase. And I hear nothing about that you want to tax to death. We're still going to have the street, because what you just said was at the end we will make the choice of what's happening on that committee after their decision is made. Then the commission makes the decision of who they're going to fund and what they're going to do.
And that's exactly right. I was in Chaparral last week. I gave the same message to the citizens of Chaparral. There's a lot of groups down there. We can't fund those groups now because we do not have the funds in our general fund to specifically endorse or fund some of those groups that I would love to fund down there. I told them specifically that they will have some funding coming back their way because there are a lot of businesses in Chaparral that pay GRT taxes. And so those people are just as eligible to me as the people that live in Tularosa or anywhere else. But like I say, there's some of those programs down there right now, and I apologize, my Spanish is not that good, but there's several Spanish groups down there that do have programs that for the seniors and other entities down there that I know need funding. And I would love to be able to go back down there and get some funding once this initiative is passed, because it's for all the people. I mean, it's not just for the elite or the group and so forth, but here again, it will be back to the groups who will actually participate in this and ask for the funding if they get funding.
And then it kind of begs the question of the idea that the legislature passed it, allowing us to do it, but at the same time, only one county or one state has chosen it. And there has to be some reason.
Well, I understand that there's only been 3 residents or 3 places that it's been tried. Rio Doce Downs just recently tried it, and it did not pass in Rio Doce Downs. Now why, I don't know. They had no problem at all when we called Cuba. They were thrilled to death in Sandoval County. I talked to a couple of the commissioners up there, and it's really been a good thing. You know, and here again, it's northern New Mexico, and I asked them, I said, well, how did you appoint your board and so forth? Well, they haven't even appointed one. Basically, they're doing through the city commission is setting as their board in Cuba. So, I mean, it's so new that nobody has really got an arms. They don't have their hands around it to see how it's going to work. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to be kind of the guinea pig in Carroll County if this passes. And it's going to be up to the citizens to be involved in it and make sure that their entities and their people are represented.
When you talk about over a 10-year period, so I know with the forming committee, I would hope like maybe every 2 years it would change out and we wouldn't have the same people over this whole 10 years.
That's part of the bylaws, and it's in this brochure that will be part of the 3-year.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any legal language yet about how the board will be formed and what will make up the board, like whether or not it will be diverse under law?
There has not. We have not gone that far. We even asked the state. Like I say, it's so new to them. We've asked them for some help in setting up guidance in the direction which way we could go. But there has been nothing set in stone yet as far as who would be. I'm hoping it's a broad enough base that all the citizens will get involved in wanting to serve in this capacity. It's a non-paying job, you know, and so it will be something kind of like the advisory board that we have to the to the county right now, the Livestock Advisory Board. What's the name of it? Grazing Advisory Board. That's a 13-member board that we have currently in the county. I think we have one other board. I'm not sure, don't quote me on that. But the advisory board is made up of primarily grazing people that run cattle in either the BLM or forest land.
Any other questions? All right. A couple things I just want to point out. If you look at the brochure, there is some language that talks about under who has the responsibilities of overseeing the distribution of the revenues. It's been outlined, I don't know if you want to call that legal language, but I got involved with this because there's a group here in town called Advocates for Enrichment, headed up by Dave Townsend. Advocates for Enrichment, when you go to a meeting, it's so non-partisan, non-political, people who are just interested in a funding source to provide additional money for things that we all currently take advantage of. The things I heard that Mr. Hale said, the current tax rate in the county is lower than the city. That's interesting. So that means if you don't want to get involved and pay anything, you don't have to shop in the county. Keep paying that 7% here in the city. Even if you shop in the county, you're not going to be paying what you're paying in taxes in the city. Okay, that being said, and I've simplified it because I'm not the smartest person in the world. For every $100 that you spend in the county, you're going to be paying a quarter. That's a way to look at it. If it's 0.25%. So for every $100 you spend in the county, you're dishing out a quarter. That money is going to stay in Otero County. That money is going to help cultural enrichment. We hear all the time, I hate hearing this town being called Alamo Ghetto, and we're not doing enough things to make this a better place to live. Well, now's our chance. Now's our chance to raise over $1 million. I like Denise's point. The Advocates for Enrichment, we're going to possibly call themselves Taxes for Texans, but we thought that was a little bit too. So, a lot of this money is going to be generated by tourists. But that's not unusual. That happens in a lot of metropolitan areas. People coming to visit get to pay. If you shop in the county, you pay. Now, the people who have to live in the county and pay for things like propane, expensive items, yes, I can see where that might be a little crunch. But the analogy that we've been using in the brochure, and it'll be in all the advertising information that you'll see, is it'll be the equivalent of a 6-pack of soda. But, you can get 6 packs of soda for $3.50. We're thinking more along the $5 line. But the people involved, just so you know, the people involved in the Advocates for Enrichment cross all party lines, no party lines. They don't care about politics. They only care about quality of life in Alamogordo. So, yes, it's a tax. Historically, we know what people do about taxes. But if you want things to improve, you want things to be different, you want things to be better, you got to pay the price. I mean, you're not paying a lot, a quarter for $100. You don't want to pay it, stay in the city. You're still paying higher taxes in the city than you are in the county. I keep going over it. I can't see a downside. The committee that will be developed and appointed, according to this, it says that the advisory board must consist of between 9 and 15 people, that it will be residents of Otero County who have knowledge about the activities eligible for the quality of life taxes. So right now, I can't see a downside. If it turns into a total whatever, assuming it passes, then it won't last forever. But I cannot see. If you can think of a downside, let me know. Otherwise, I and the other people who are involved in the Advocates for Enrichment are going to be pounding the media with our $3,000 budget and really trying to get this to pass. Holly also mentioned, and just briefly, I don't mean to continue belaboring this, but she also mentioned that there's a possibility that the PILT will go away. If that goes away, lots of stuff goes away. We need alternative funding. So that's the scoop. Any other questions?
Yeah. Now, if you have a sense, just you personally involved in this group, that advocates for enrichment group will have input into who's appointed to the board.
Absolutely, and
That answered my original
I don't
question.
have any qualms about telling you who, and this is open to everybody. You know, lots of people here have been to these meetings, so it's open to everybody. The next meeting is going to be Monday at Margot's. Everybody's welcome. People who are working really hard to do this are people who have been involved in the arts in this community for years. You're looking at people like Teresa Ham, the Flickinger, you know, she's the Alan Gordo Music Theater. You know, people who really want to produce programs in the town that are fun and worthwhile and enjoyable. So people like Teresa Ham, people like Tommy Harold's wife, Dave Townsend, Winnie Townsend, people who you know and love, who have not done anything to harm the community. They're only out there trying to do good things for us. So I have no problem getting behind them. Anybody who's been to the meetings who wants to comment? Mr. Wilson?
Yeah, I had a question, and what it was basically the control of the fund. And if I'm not mistaken, the gentleman said something like there will be someone more or less like if the board doesn't handle it right, they will control
the ultimate decision.
Well, wait a minute. My point is that if you appoint a board, how much control do they have to run these funds where they're supposed to go before somebody turns around and says, like, hey, wait a minute, you know, I don't think it should go there, because there was a statement that he did make that the ultimate decision on this would be by what?
Well, as I envision it, based on my experience with other boards, especially boards that are affiliated with the county and the city, you get people who purport to know what they're doing. Okay? They're evaluated, they're appointed to the board, now the board's living happily ever after. Now they're going to develop criteria for the people who are eligible to solicit money from the GRT. That criteria will be strictly met. I'm sure the board, in their meetings, will look at it very closely and make sure that everything is according to, and especially with a new board like this, according to the criteria set up. Once they make their determination, what I envision happening, based on my experience with other boards, is that it will go before the governing body, in this case being the Otero County Commission. Now, the Otero County Commission, considering the fact that this is a 9 to 15 member board that they've assisted in developing, they're going to probably listen to what the board says, because these are people who have been appointed who have knowledge about these various organizations that may or may not be eligible for the funding. So,
one thing, if you think about it, you know, it's no different than if you go to a city commission or a county commission meeting and you have the county manager or one of their staff members making a recommendation up to the commissioners for their vote. In this situation, the cultural advisory board is the ones who get together because they're knowledgeable on this. You don't have staff on the county commission or anything like that who are knowledgeable in these areas. So that's that cultural advisory board has the knowledge to be able to make the recommendations up to the commission for voting. You know, and then in the end, if the people don't like the fact that the commission either went with it or didn't go with it, so then it's a political vote for the commissioners to stay or go in that situation. So that's the control that the citizenry has over the process after the cultural advisory board is appointed.
Okay. Let me just make one comment in regards to that. When and if this initiative passes and so forth, somebody has to be the physical responsibility for the money comes in from the state tax money, and basically it will come down to the physical people will be the county commission. Whether I'm there or who else is running on that board, here about anybody else, anyway, that by law has to be that way, because it is tax money that comes in, the board will make the recommendations, and I would say it was very surprising if the board was overturned that board, because if you did, then you just would create chaos and you'll make two votes. In that.
I just want to be sure of one thing. Maybe I'm not the smartest person here. Are we going to have Turos on that board, Mescalero on that board, Chaparral on that board, Hawthorne, all these places? Because we always seem to be left out of everything. Everything is
You know, and I don't want to say you're always left out of everything. When it comes to cultural boards, you're going to put people on the board who are knowledgeable about the various projects that could possibly be awarded the money. If they happen to come from Palo Rosa, great. If they come from Dpoc, great. But those people also are volunteers. We're not going to go out and snare people to be on the board. If nobody from Palo Rosa volunteers, if nobody from Dpoc volunteers, what are we going to do? We have an advisory board in the city, an advisory board. We try to get people from the county to get on the advisory board. It's not easy finding people. And then the citizens will come back later and say, well, there's nobody from so-and-so on the board. But that's because they didn't volunteer time for people to get involved. So, did you have a question, Ms. Watson?
Yes, I did. And my question is, I just wanted to clarify, it's only the county people, but not any municipality people who will be paying this tax?
The answer is it's the businesses that are located within the county, not within the 3 municipalities within the county that will be paying it. So yes, if you are doing business in the city of Alamogordo, or Cloudcroft, and that business is conducted inside that city, no, the gross receipts from that transaction will not go to the tax. But you could be a business inside the city of Alamogordo, but be doing business in a construction project outside that's in the county. That transaction will go towards this. So any transaction done by a business or individual outside of the municipality will get taxed. Personally, if I wrote the law, I'd write it differently.
Would I suggest then that you look at people for the board to choose what to do with the money, the people who are also paying the tax out in the county?
I couldn't hear your question.
I'm thinking that then the people in the county will be the ones paying the tax, and therefore maybe those should be the ones on the board.
Well, this is the reason I say there's a flaw in the way the statute is written. You know, in my opinion, it was. That's the way the statute, that's the way the legislature voted to implement this. I think it's a little unfair that the citizens of Alamogordo can impose a tax on people outside of the municipalities. But here again, I didn't like the law. When we first read that, we were a little ambiguous about it. We said, well, that was quite fair. But when we got the legislative council involved, this is the definition they give us. But you have to remember this. Just because you're a citizen of North Carolina, on the board, you're still a citizen of North Carolina. The money that we spend in pensions, everybody in North Carolina. For instance, we own the jail, and every inmate that's out there, I'd say 90% of our population comes from the city. And so, and they do pay us a daily rate for that sentence out there. But, so, in other words, all the services that we do are not necessarily just for services of the county, they're for the citizens of the county.
The one additional point on that one as well is that so much of the concentration of the quality of life entities are located within the municipalities, but utilized by everybody in the county. That's one of the key ways that I've tried to look at it when I've tried to say, is it fair or not, you know, so in those two entities. So the fact that, you know, you've got these activities that will be going on, you know, between nonprofits and other locations that will be doing these activities, they're located everywhere, county and city, and everybody's using them. So.
What she was suggesting was that the people for the board, that if they should be chosen by the ones who are directly affected by it first, is what she was just saying.
But what they're saying is anybody can try to go get on that board.
They just have to,
whether they're in the county, whether they're in the city. It's up to the people to try to get up and say, hey, I want to be on this board.
Yeah.
I want to make the decision. Because it's going to affect me. I live in the county.
We just have to have people standing up
people
to be
stand
able
up
to do it.
And then show that you've got some knowledge in that area
Yes.
as well.
Right.
I would never have to be on the grazing advisory board.
No.
I know that's a cow. You know, so out there. So I grew up in Los Angeles. You know, it's like I know I eat that. That's about it. You know, so that's the one of the key things of all of this.
In other words, what I'm envisioning myself is that this board is set up, there would be at least one member from each one of the municipalities. I would say probably 2 from Alamogordo, 1 from Flagstaff, 1 from Tularosa. That would give you 4, and then 5 other members from the surrounding counties. If we can find people to serve, and that is exactly right. We have boards that we ask people to serve on, unless they really have an interest and are willing to spend the time and so forth. It's hard to find individuals who are willing to serve in those capacities. And so it's tough out there, but I would love to have people from Chaparral serve. So that's tough, because I have 90 miles from Chaparral up to typically in national people to do that. So even though they come, and I try to make at least 1 meeting a month down there with them, and it's tough.
So for time purposes, any more questions? Thank you. Mr. Harris, thank you very much. That's all live stream. I want to thank Leona and Aaron again. I was on live stream on alamogordo.live.net. If any, I guess we can take of it later.
It's on there as soon as it's on there right now.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, next, I have a couple things here that you might just want to look at, grab one before you leave. It has information about the issues that we were just talking about, the GRT, where it's going to be on the ballot. I too went by the county clerk's office before the meeting. They do have the ballots. They were delivered today. They wanted to look them over, make sure they were correct, and they were going to make them available. So I will have them in the office. They'll probably scan it or email it out so that you can see it. So I'll make sure you get it. Remember that everybody's ballot will look different, but the issues, the main candidates and the issues, the bond issues, educational and GRT, will be the same for everybody. So moving right along, during the presentation a little while ago, AJ went out to his car and actually brought a weapon into the building. So there was a weapon in the building. I just wanted everybody to know. I went by Barbara, she said it was okay. Since April, we've been selling rifle raffle tickets. So I'll give you a little background before we do this. Rifle raffle. Now, we've done this for years. Cliff McDonald graciously donated a rifle to the Democratic Party. And I don't feel that we embraced it the way we did this year, but we embraced it for a reason. Everywhere we went, people would say, Obama's trying to take away our guns. Well, not only is he not trying to take away the guns, but we're trying to get more guns, okay? So for those of you who participated in the raffle, I want to thank you. For those of you who sold tickets, we really appreciate it. For those of you who bought tickets, we appreciate that even more. So we made more money, and Judy will tell us about how much money we made than we ever made in a rifle raffle. For the next 2 minutes, if anybody wants to buy any rifle raffle tickets,
I do.
They are still available.
Okay.
They're $5 each, or is it 5 for 20? What a deal. Because it's a wonderful rifle. And John Bear asked me about it, I said it's really pretty. It has kind of a blue handle. Not a spoke. It has a spoke. Okay. Oh my God. Anyway, it's a big in a lot of places. We took tickets up to Palace for an NCC meeting. People bought tickets like crazy. And Judy, at this point, what would you say we have in the over $800 was raised in our rifle raffle. So, thank you, everybody. Anybody else? Anybody else? Step right up. Over here. You got 5? They're 20. And this evening, we are going to ask Cliff McDonald, who donated the rifle to us, blow my ticket so that, so that I can go home with a light. So once again, I just want to thank everybody for your participation. This has been a really nice fundraiser.
All right, let's do one more. This is it.
Will anybody have any info tickets at this point? We just expect you to write a check. Or turn them in. Yeah.
Anybody else? Anybody else? Anybody else? 20, 30, 40, 50, 850, we're up to.
And for anybody who's out there watching this on onwardallow.net, and for everybody here, just so you're aware, to be able to let people watch this meeting later when you want them to know about the GRT, onwardallow.net is all over town. They're taping all the time, they're meetings, the city commission, they're everywhere. And right now, they are collecting donations online. Go to onwardallow.net, and you can make a donation. I'm sure that if you wanted to do it in person, they wouldn't mind either, but we need to support Leonie and Aaron. Because they are everywhere. If you can make a meeting, virtual there, and you can see it online. Judy set the ticket?
Wait. Wait for me to call them. Put your name on the ticket.
Let's give us the one with the name on it.
I need your name on that ticket and your address. You got to put your name and your phone number. You gotta put your name on it and your phone number. Right, and that's it. Right.
I'm supposed to have a drum. They supposed to have a drum.
You put your name right on it right now. Right now we're going to draw the name.
We need to do the prayer if you want to get the picture of the paper.
Then she has no receipt.
Oh, I'll get the other.
Who's going to be taking the oath home? Okay.
Wait.
Who's got the drum? Here's the camera.
Your dad. I usually can't drum here.
All right. Right here, I got it right here.
Okay, good.
All right, now wait a minute. Mix it up. All right. Okay, here we go.
All right, nothing else to please.
Dig.
Way down in the bottom.
The winning ticket has been pulled. Okay, our winner is Bernie Sanchez. He's got a 505 area code. I don't know who sold the ticket, who has Bernie?
We'll have to call him.
We'll call Bernie, and we'll let him know that, we've got... We'll let him know, so once again, the winning number is 0766.
All right. We'll get somebody to call.
Okay, we've got a couple more things we need to talk about. First of all, before he goes out of here, one of our new Democrats, Mr. Alex Wilson, has volunteered to do a debate watching party Wednesday night. I put it out on Dpoc and on Facebook. And, in fact, Alex, you'll be happy to know that I told John Bear about it, but he didn't put your address in the paper. Which is probably a good thing, because all you needed was 1,000 people, you know. Anyway, so in light of the fact that we're having a debate watching party Wednesday night at 6:30 to 6:45 arrival time. Yeah. Bring party food, party snacks, party drinks, whatever you like to party with, you're welcome to bring. $20. Come there, he's got some big TVs. It'll be fun to watch it all together, but in light of that, we're not doing office hours tomorrow at our headquarters, okay? We're doing it Thursday. So we'll be there Thursday, but we'll put out emails on that.
What's the address?
The address is
807 Azalea Street. Azalea is going straight up Florida, going south, and right, you're going to hit an old car wash. And the next street past that car wash is Azalea.
Yeah, does everybody know where Florida and Mimosa are?
Yeah,
One block past Mimosa.
it's in that area.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
It's past the car wash on Florida. And then the next street past this car wash, which is I think Mimosa, and then you go into Azalea. Should be able to find, should be hard. I'm new here, so you guys been here a little bit longer than I have. Yeah, for sure.
Well, I hope so. I just posted it, so I don't know. Yeah, I just posted it.
I'm not maybe that it usually is at this point. Before people start getting up and leaving, I'd like to bring Nate Cody up here for just a moment. Nate has something he'd like to say to the group, and then we'll move on with a couple other things, and then we'll be dismissed.
Go, Nate, go, Nate. Oh, Nate, that's the hat, that's the hat.
That's that. I just wanted to say one thing. While I was sitting there listening to Commissioner's presentation on this, I was in the legislature in 2008. I served on the Tax and Rev Committee. And the intent was, the reason I voted for it, of course, was exactly what's happening here, to allow the local communities to make the decision on increasing the grocery street tax, but not us at the state level. Having said that, of course, they didn't fail to hit me on it the next election for increasing taxes. So, so that's the way politics goes, right? I do want to thank the Otero County Democrats for the nice little unexpected donation in the mail the other day. I really appreciated it. Thank you very much for that. I was hoping to win the 308 tonight because I have a 308 with a scope at home, and it needed a partner, but it didn't happen. I have a walk this Sunday. It'll be probably my last walk over here in Steve Nadia, I guess. If you're interested in walking in a couple hours, I would greatly appreciate that. I appreciate the help. I also have been mentioned to Nadia about possible poll workers and stuff down in the Otero part of Chaparral, and she knows about that. And get out to vote on Election Day. Early voting and on Election Day. And I need some help with get out the vote over here because I'm going to be busy probably really busy between Chaparral and the East Mason and Las Cruces. So if I could have a couple volunteers to help me with that over there, I would really appreciate it. It was really key that we get the Democrats out to vote this time around, and I appreciate that. Having said that, I have a new voter information card that I'll be dropping at doors, and we'll be distributing them on Sunday afternoon as well, in addition to a great new walk card I have. So thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anybody who'd like to walk Bowles Acres, we're going to meet at the old Walmart Sunday, and if you want to sign up, I'll take your name and phone number just to remind you between now and Sunday. A couple of business things we just have to get out of the way before I go into some really brief new business stuff. Everybody saw the minutes from the last meeting? Yeah. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes. Seconded? All in favor? Minutes approved, and one more time, thank you, Karen, for doing the minutes. I thought you did a beautiful job on the minutes this time. And Karen keeps saying, this job is not in jeopardy. Thank you, Nate.
Take care, Nate.
Scholarship Committee, we received 2 thank you notes from people who were beneficiaries of our scholarship, and we mailed the 3rd check to the young lady who was unable to be at our meeting. Her reasons for not being at the meeting were pretty serious. Her dad was going through dialysis, going through some real problems, so she and her family were in Albuquerque. They got back, everything's going great. They called, we mailed the check. She's very, very appreciative. It turns out she's going to college here. We told them exactly what we told the other 2. You get in touch with us towards the end of the year. We'll send you a letter also. You'll get the remainder of the scholarship. What we're going to do right now, though, is we're going to go ahead and pass the hat to the general fund. We'll wait until the next meeting to pass it for the scholarship.
Give generously, give generously.
Okay, now briefly, some new business items. State Central Committee meeting is Saturday. How many of you are going to the State Central Committee meeting? If you're not going to the State Central Committee meeting, please make sure that we get your proxies. The meeting is in Las Cruces. For once, and it's like in the same area code. So I'm excited about that. In fact, I volunteered all the State Central Committee members to get there at 7 a.m. so that we can help register people. Yay! So that's what we're doing. So the agenda is pretty simple. We're going to be approving the Democratic platform and talking about some budget issues. So it's an important meeting. It's a close meeting. We can drive to the meeting. You can give me your questions if you want to, but just so everybody's aware of that. You know that everybody's welcome to go. It's just the State Central Committee meeting members are the only people who can actually vote. With regard to the issue that we took a vote on last meeting, I just want to run this by y'all real quick. We took a vote, decided we were not going to participate in Robin Hood's project to do the workbook. Everybody decided that was not anything we wanted to get involved with, I thought. Until after the meeting, when enough people came up to me and said that they want to go ahead and fund it, we got the funding. In fact, we got $500. So we are doing it. We're doing it in Tularosa, Flagstaff, Alamogordo, Legacy Academy, and of course the Alamogordo students. The Republican Party is doing it as the Republican Party of Otero County. The Democrats who got involved are doing it as Democrats committed to civic education. If anybody wants to go ahead and donate, there's still time. One of the donors donated quite a bit of money. But we have quite a few donors who pretty much wanted to remain anonymous, except for Democrats committed to civic education. So that's going to happen. You'll probably see the workbooks out there. We're going to go ahead and do it.
Madam Chair, point of order. That was never voted on. We dropped everything. We didn't vote on it. There was no vote. Am I correct? Right. There was no vote.
There was no vote?
No vote.
I was not at the meeting. As you recall, I had to leave.
It was asked that we gather more information and bring it to the next meeting.
Okay, so I've just brought it to the next meeting. There's a lot of funding out there, so the Democratic Party does not have to spend as much. If we were to donate a token amount, we could simply say on the front of the workbook, donated by the Democratic Party of Otero County. I don't think any of the Democrats committed to civic education will mind if we change that. It looks better if we're united.
But it has to be in several languages.
It doesn't have to be in any language except English. By the time you're in 4th grade, and no matter what immersion program you're in, you are speaking English in every school in Otero County. Any more discussion? Do you want to entertain a motion as the Democratic Party of Otero County to contribute? It does not have to be the $350 to $500 as mentioned last time. It could be a token amount of $100.
Question, could you
Yes.
explain what the workbook is again?
It's a 15-page workbook. Yes, it's fairly simplistic. It includes information about the presidential election, about civic responsibility, when we vote, why we vote, how voting started. It's, I don't know if the content of the workbook is what we should be concentrating on. The workbook's going to be going out to over 1,700 kids in Otero County, 4th through 6th graders. If 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 kids take that workbook home, and their parents see that A, they're at least learning something about civics, and B, it was donated by a United Republican and Democratic Party to educate students in Otero County, I think we get some kudos. Secondly, this was a project brought to us first by Robin Holmes. Robin Holmes is the Republican County Clerk. She is the one who brought it to the Democrats first, because over the years, the Democrats have indicated that they would like to get involved in civic-type projects. Okay, nobody's ever come to me with a civic project that we wanted to do. Robin Holmes is aware of it. She came to me, wanted to know if we want to do it. It's okay if we as the Democratic Party don't want to do it, because we're already funded by people who do want to do it. So,
I make a motion that we give
Linda?
$100 to it.
$100. Did you have another question? This is, I mean, it's outside the realm of Robert's Rules of Order. Oh, okay. Okay, we've got a motion on the floor by AJ to entertain the motion to donate $100, seconded by Dr. Brown. All in favor?
Aye.
I just want you to know that I sincerely appreciate that. On a number of, all opposed? Thank you.
No.
See what happens when we learn the rules. Thank you. But I'll tell you why it just seems important to do this. If just the Republican's name was on it, it doesn't bode well for us. We have to start participating in things that people see. We have to start doing things for the good of the community. Whether it's 1 person, 2 people, 3 people, 4 kids out there, somebody's going to see this and somebody's going to be happy about it. Yes, teachers can pull the information off the internet, but will they? Yes, it's another problem for teachers because they're going to have to distribute it. But Robin has gone through the trouble of talking to all of the schools, all the teachers who will be getting it, and everybody. I met with she and Rocky Galaxy today, and everybody's agreeable. So I just think on a number of levels it makes us look at. I'm sorry, Jim. Yes.
The reason I'm voting against it, I've dealt with Robin for 30 years.
Okay, and I just want to stop the conversation right there. Okay.
I've got the floor. You gave me the floor. I've got the right to have the floor.
Okay.
And I'll tell you what, she has never done anything for the Republican Party. She will, the Democratic Party, she will never do anything for us.
And let me tell you something. Over the course of the time that I've been working with Robin Holmes here in Otero County, not only as the chair, but as just a citizen of Otero County, I've not experienced that. I have gone to their warehouse to watch them destroy ballots. I've gone to their training.
Quiet.
I'm sorry?
That's being quiet. That's her
But
job.
I've actually gone and watched it, okay?
So what?
And you had a problem with it?
Yes. Because we're not from Alamogordo. We're from Chula Rosa. We might as well all be Hispanic as far as you can.
I don't, and maybe this is just a point of personal privilege, but I don't see them being contentious with us. And
Well, because you haven't been here long enough, that's why.
Jenny, you're right. You're right. I've not been
You
here.
haven't put up with them, gone to the
But at
office
some
over there,
point-
and them not even going to wait on you.
At some point, when it comes to our county clerk, we have to know that they're trying to be as fair as possible.
Give me a break. They've been there for 30 years. What would be fair as possible if we had a Democratic court, which we haven't had.
I'd like to change the conversation a bit if I
Yes.
As a former government teacher, I'm so supportive of doing this, but I would like to know that the information is accurate. And I just wonder if anybody has checked that.
Yes.
We had the workbook at the last meeting, we passed it around.
Yeah, a lot of what's talked about is
Yes.
not accurate.
Correct.
Good, that was my major concern.
Yes.
But see, I have to admit, from looking at the workbook, that it's fairly innocuous, it's very basic, it's very simple. But the point of doing it was, A, to get a united look for the Democrats and Republicans out there during a very important election season. Now, we can continue to beat a dead horse, we can talk about how we're being treated unfairly, but at some point, we have to move on. Okay, we're going to move on right now. And this is a topic that came to our attention through two avenues. Okay, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, if you got a problem, sue. That's what I do this time. If you got a problem, you feel like you're being unjustly treated, do something about it.
Well, being that everybody in office in Montreal County is a Republican, every office is taken by a Republican, and you haven't put up with them like you have to.
Oh, wait a minute.
They throw our paper.
For the purpose of time, I'm just going to move on. There were two avenues by which this next issue was brought to my attention. Tony Davis in Lincoln County and Ellen Weedham, who's doing voter registration in Chaparral. Apparently there have been some situations that have occurred where Tony Davis, for example, said that up in Mescalero, where voter registration was taking place, the voter registrar felt intimidated by some people who were registering people at the grocery store there. In Chaparral, it was a very similar situation, and what we've done is gotten in touch with the state party and OFA, Obama for America, and here was their recommendation. They would like us to get volunteers to be both election challengers and election watchers. I told them I would come before this meeting and I would ask for volunteers. Once we get volunteers, you'll tell us where you want to be for the election. You have to go through training. Pam Coleman will be doing some of the training, and a woman with Progress New Mexico will be coming down to do the other training. If you'd like to be a poll watcher or a poll challenger, I've got the booklet on what is required. You can look at it before you leave. Sign up, and we'll make sure we get the names to the appropriate people.
Does that include early voting?
No. This is all for election day. So, yes, sir?
What's being done is early voting for Chaparral.
When you say what's being done in early voting for Chaparral, as far as early voting, we're doing early voting in the county. It started today at the county clerk's office, or the 9th at the county clerk's office. It'll start the 20th at the various locations. As far as getting a machine down there to do early voting, that will not happen for this election. That will not happen, but we've got some ideas that have been floated around as an alternative. People can volunteer to drive people here. It's up to you. If you would like to volunteer to drive people to Chaparral, we are taking a list. Okay, so after the meeting, if you'd like to sign up to be a challenger or a watcher, I've got the list going. Linda. Both of them are very similar. The challengers and the watchers, one of them gets to go inside the polling place during election day. They get to sit there, they get to watch what's going on. Should they have an issue, they'll have a number they can call. They can also talk to the election judges. Once you're in, you're in. When you leave, you're out. So we might have to have 2 or 3 at each polling location, because sitting there for 12 hours is a very difficult.
Is this the watcher or the challenger?
That is the watcher. The challenger sits outside 50 feet and they just watch what's going on. If they notice any infractions, any problems, any intimidation, they too will have a phone number they can call. And we've got a friendly attorney in town who will work with us. There's also, depending on the infraction, they can come in and tell the election judge they can call the county party, they can call Robin Holmes. So all that will be covered in training.
And Nadia, it's the Republicans did have watchers at early voting last year, and I don't know if OSA knows that. Dan and I always vote early because we watch the polls, and the Republicans did have poll watchers for early voting.
And on that note, if anybody wants to volunteer to do that, I'm more than happy to take your name. If anybody wants to be a poll watcher or challenger during early voting, because that's all right also, we can do that. But based on how many volunteers I get for everything else, I just leave it up and that up. So if you would like to do that every day during early voting, more power to you. I think it's important, but I don't know where we'll get the people to do that. I don't know if the Republicans are doing it. I'll check with Robin, and if that's the case, maybe we might want to look at that even more closely. Newspaper ads is under new business. We put the fact that there's a possibility that we're looking at a newspaper ad. Okay, so we are going to do one. Did we put together a committee to put together the ad?
No, we didn't. We did not vote on that.
Oh, we did not? No. That was just a suggestion.
Okay. How about this? Over the Dpoc list, I will send out the rates for the various programs available from the paper for the election, and then we'll work on getting an ad. Right now, we've talked about doing radio spots, political rates on every station except for AM 1230. It's $6 for a 30, $7 for a 60. AM 1230 is $4 for a 30, $5 for a 60. 1270 has no laws, anything, so I don't know if we'd be wasting our dollars on that station. So we'll think about that, and then we can determine what we want the 30 or 60-second ad to be, and we can get that. We can get it started before early voting, let off during the month, and then probably start it again right before the election, if you want to do radio. Well, we haven't voted.
As your treasurer member, I reported to you last month that we had about $4,000. I would feel comfortable using two to make sure we kept the doors open. You all voted for $250 for all of the candidates, and I mailed those checks. You heard me say that. Then we all kind of did this head nod, about $1,000, maybe looking for a newspaper. I'm just recalling what happened, a newspaper ad, and yes, so I think I would be real comfortable in making a motion that we use at least up to $1,000 for political advertising from now until November 6th, between radio and the newspaper.
The second is, well, Judy has made the motion. Second is Dr. Brown. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody against? Then why don't we, after the meeting, if you want to be on a committee to help develop the ad, let's go ahead and get your name. We'll do an ad, and then we'll also do radio spots.
That's kind of what we had talked about.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, good. That's really good. The newspaper has a number of different programs. Yes. I'm sorry?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. In working with the Advocates for Enrichment, they said emailing back and forth all the different programs available from the newspaper, and we can get some good ads currently during election season for well under $500. So, for radio, if we figure that might be good. I'll tell you what, all the radio stations have agreed to do a Get Out the Vote PSA. So they are doing a Get Out the Vote PSA. I and Paul Sanchez have cut those spots. I haven't heard them yet, but we've done the spots. So there are PSAs running on 1230, 1270, 103.7, 107, and 103, all the radios. There are 8 radio stations. All so those should be, so all we need to do is intersperse candidate-specific ads, and we can do that. Okay, so we've pretty much covered everything. Ellen could not make it to the meeting tonight, but I did tell Ellen that even though she wasn't here, we would think of Ellen. And as long as you're here, Stephanie, would you mind giving us an update on what's going on with your
I'll give you a
ticket?
little update. First of all, thank everybody that's given me money and supported me and whatever. We were in Roswell for most of the weekend. We did the fair parade there. Well, first we did a meet and greet with Evelyn Madrid Earhart and Judge Barbara DeKiel. And they had about 60 in attendance. We all got to speak a few minutes, and it was pretty good. Then Monday morning we went over to the Wolf Line, lined up for the parade. They had a really terrific float. It was all about Adelante, forward, and the guys got inside the float and they made the stuff go around forward. And so it was kind of cool. They thought it was animated, but it actually was a person working the little board. But
Where was that?
Roswell? Yeah, it's the Southeastern New Mexico Fair. It's probably one of the largest ones on the eastern side. So then, when that was over, we caught a little lunch. Then we went out to the fair and spent a couple of hours out there. They had a tremendous booth out there and handed out stuff, registered voters, you know, whatever, the regular stuff. I got endorsed by AFT, and they'll be sending me a check. I finished up the Chihuahuitas, and we started back on Tula Rosa again, and I'll probably do some walking in Carrizozo and finish up in Roswell, and I'll do some radio ads. I'll do a paper. I got to do a paper ad in Alamogordo, Ruidoso, in the Carrizozo Lincoln County News, and then I'll do something in the Roswell paper. So I've raised about, give and take about $4,000, somewhere around there. And, so, my opponent's probably got $29,000 and owns 4 radio stations, so we're probably looking at me still talk rooming. So, well, be popular. Yeah.
Office hours, we're making phone calls. Good morning, Stephanie.
Office hours are going to be Thursday. Madam Chair, what a personal privilege.
Yes.
Thank you very much for the advice of your question.
Thank you. I always feel like when we get to this time that we're just really pressed to get out of here. So I know that I'm moving along quickly, but a couple things I really do want to touch on before you all leave. Rocky Galassini and I have been going back and forth, and she's been very helpful. She's been out of town. We are trying to put together a candidate forum. Everybody has agreed that they want to do it. We are going to do it. We're meeting tomorrow to finalize everything, location, moderator, time, date, and we will be doing it on or around the 18th of October. Okay? So that will be happening. When it happens, we're going to beg.net to stream it, and then hopefully everybody can be there.
And I'm doing the Tea Party meeting to greet the candidates. I forget when it is, the 13th, I think.
Tea Party?
Yeah, they invited me, and I said I'd come. And then I'm doing Three Meadows, Republican Party, having one there. Doing Roswell, Leadership Roswell, and there's one other one. I think I've got like 4 or 5.
So as you do them, since we're getting so close to the election, as you do these, could you put a little blurb, a little blip on the Dpoc, just so we know what's happening? We know that you met with the Tea Party and you're still okay.
You better take all of us with you.
I don't know if everybody saw the front page of today's On the Morning Daily News. I just wanted to thank John Bear. I know he left, but he did a nice job promoting our meeting tonight. He will promote our meeting if he and the paper feel that they're worth promoting. Apparently, they thought the GRT, Chris, the rifle raffle were worth promoting. John did call me this morning to tell me that he didn't say anything about the rifle raffle in the article, but he's planning on making that a big deal, either tomorrow or whenever the paper can do it, which I really appreciate. That means we'll be in a couple times this week. The other thing that was in the paper today, I happened to see online last night. I immediately forwarded the article to OFA, to our Senators Bingaman and, the other Udall, I'm sorry. Forwarded the information to them. I also forwarded it to the State Democratic Party. And I'm here to tell you that fast and furiously, those people were on it. And they couldn't have responded any more quickly. They got to work today. I had information on my Gmail account by 8:30. Because I pretty much freaked out about it because the day was very busy and I thought, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to get this to the paper today. But because of their help, I delivered the letter to the paper by 4:30. They couldn't guarantee me that it'll get in the paper. They couldn't even guarantee me that it'll get in the paper the way I gave it to them. But they will print something in response because that I immediately called irresponsible, opinionated journalists. And they said they will respond because you can fact check anything that Dr. Bruce said. You could look at our CEO who landed our hospital in a $33 million lawsuit because he failed to check credentials. Excuse me, sir, but maybe you should check facts before you start talking about how Social Security and Medicare is going to affect seniors. Now, here's my issue. I make phone calls. I get Democrats on the phone, good Democrats on the phone, and they say to me, well, I was going to vote for Obama, but since he's going to take away my Medicare, I don't think I'm going to vote for him anymore. Okay, so that's what we hear. It's very disappointing to the people making the phone calls. If anything, they just have to clarify these scare tactics and put information that's valid in the paper. So let's see what happens if they go home and hope for the best.
Well, when you read the article, it actually gets to the bottom line because Dr. Abboud stated in there that they're going to be getting less money now. So that's Dr. Abboud's bottom line. Right there. She states right there, they're going to be getting less money.
Well, my only argument with that is how she knows.
Yeah. But that's her bottom line.
So
That's what
open
she
up
cares about.
Obamacare to preventative services that should possibly increase the bottom line. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not the smartest person when it comes to this. I don't know all the facts. Thank God for OSA and the Democratic Party.
But that's how she came off to me.
On the editorial page, not the front page.
Yeah.
Good point.
Number 11.
Would you let us know what, if we need to follow up?
Absolutely.
If that, if you send out a Dpoc list? Because some of us could write in if they don't publish your article.
Oh, happily. I will. If it's not in the paper tomorrow, the next day, the Dpoc emails will be flowing fast and furiously. But the paper, even though you gotta admit it's a little whacked out. The Republicans are saying it's too liberal, the liberals are saying it's too red. People like Robert Rentschler actually told me that he's going to cancel the paper because it's way too liberal. And it depends on who you talk to, where you come from. So it is what it is. Our best bet is to stay in as good as we can with our buddy John Baer. Let him know when things are happening. He returns phone calls. He's happy to get information in the paper.
And he's a hell of a great writer.
He's a good guy. I agree. And hopefully he's a good picture taker so we get a picture. Okay, any other announcements before class is dismissed?
It's breast
Sarah.
Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Tell us about it.
Okay. It is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. NMSUA is going to have Pink Week in a couple of weeks, and they're also going to have Crimson Week. But there's a lot of activities going on around town. Just look out for different things so that way you can get involved in that and help save lives.
Friday is Wear Pink for all public school employees, and they're hoping to pink out the Tiger game Friday night. We're out at Pink House.
Yeah.
You forward any information to me, Leanna, and I'll make sure that it gets out on Dpoc also.
Okay.
It's fan book week. Use your favorite fan book.
And all my red hatters are wearing pink feathers in their caps. All month.
Red hatters have pink feathers. this is important. I think Breast Cancer Awareness Month is truly important. You know, right now it seems like a lot of things are being overshadowed by the election, but I think it's really important that we stay cognizant of the things that are with us every day. So, office hours, 5 to 9 every Wednesday, except tomorrow. It'll be Thursday next week, officially starting Wednesday and Thursday. Walking Sunday. We're walking. We need to do whatever we can to get our guy elected. Yes.
Did you just say office hours are Thursday this week?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Because of the day watch party. We received some of Obama Biden's yard signs and Martin Heinrich's yard signs. If you would like a yard sign, we have a few left at the office. Please come by and get them.
Mine.
I
have to file a big report on Monday. Where? I want my signs when I'm sitting there filing.
Okay, does anybody have their voter registration stuff with them? Yeah. You do it? There's somebody who wants to register to vote right now. Just say. So, thank you everybody. Thank you for staying late. I feel like that's your presentation.
Here now, I'm serving up a South Dakota for a little while. And
what is your name? I actually have to put it in. It's every little bit of that thing so much. Parker, B-A-R-K-E-R.